Hello besties and welcome to another Genshin theory! I've been meaning to make this video for months now, but I kept getting distracted by other stuff. But today we're finally going to talk about one of the most confusing pieces of Genshin lore, the Rule of Three. Quick disclaimer for this video, I'll be going over spoilers from the new Chasm Archon quest, and I'll talk about Buddhism and real-life Indian culture and how it relates to Genshin. I did a lot of research on it for this video, but since I'm not actually Indian or Buddhist, I could end up getting some stuff wrong, so please feel free to correct me if I messed anything up. We learned about the Rule of Three from Rue during the Surumi Island quests. He told us that you must forge past obstacles 3 times to succeed on the 4th. When I first heard this, I felt like it came out of nowhere and it really just applied to Surumi's quests. But now I always notice important things happening in 3s and 4s all over Genshin. Here's a list of everything I've noticed so far. A had 3 close friends who have died, Kitsune Sagu, Chiyo, and Sasayuri. There are 3 versions of the Electro Archon, A, Makoto, and the Raiden Shogun. Mondstadt had 3 main clans during its era of aristocracy, Gunhilder, Lawrence, and Imunlauker. Every weekly boss has 3 specialized drops. There are 3 versions of Albedo, the first, the real Albedo, and the Fellflower. Guili Assembly had 3 gods, Morax, Guizhong, and Marcosius. 3 Yakshas died. Xiao was only able to move on after learning the fate of the 4th missing Yaksha, Bosacius. He died during the Cataclysm, not with the other 3 dead Yakshas. We meet 3 people who lost their visions to the Narukami Shogunate during the Inazuma Archon quests. In the new Chasm Archon quest that just came out, Yelan mentioned something called the 3 Gates. Not sure what that means, but it obviously can't be good. There's an achievement that requires you to visit 3 graves in Dragonspine. One of these graves belongs to Selvin Dagnir's princess who saw the future and painted the murals in Dragonspine. There's 3 paintings in the mural room, and she meant to do a 4th one, but died before she got the chance. Child's boss fight has 3 stages: the normal beginning, the delusion, and the foul legacy transformation. We had to break 3 barriers on Decarabian's tower to unlock the Storm Terror boss fight. There are 3 important rooms in Havria's domain: the room with the chalice, the room with the ruler, and the room where she died. 3 Adepti live in Jueyun Karst: Mooncarver, Mountain Shaper, and Cloud Retainer. Enkinomiya has 3 loci. And that's just the inconsequential stuff I've noticed. I'm sure there are plenty of other little details that I missed. I did leave out a few important instances, but we'll get to them later. First, we need to understand exactly what the Rule of Three means and its consequences for Teyvat. Rue says you must forge past obstacles 3 times to succeed on the 4th. So, bad things happen in groups of 3, and you have to move from 3 to 4 to change that. All of the examples of groups of 3 I listed have negative connotations, either explicit or implicit. Klee is a great example of the other side of the Rule of Three, though. Her symbol is a 4-leaf clover. 4-leaf clovers are seen as a sign of good luck in real life and in Genshin. When we meet Dainsleif, he asks us 3 questions. From the moment we met, the game has been screaming at us not to trust him. The 3 questions he asked us made it clear that he's been stalking us for some time. Dainsleif's presence is literally the bad presented by this group of 3. Dainsleif is very familiar with how Teyvat works, so I'm sure he knows all about the Rule of Three. Maybe his choice to ask 3 questions was some kind of covert threat, and that's why Paimon instantly feels so uncomfortable with him. Paimon also knows a lot about Teyvat, so she must know about the Rule of Three too. I don't remember if she reacted with shock or confusion when Rue initially explained it, but I wouldn't put it past Paimon to play dumb. I've actually seen some people theorize that Paimon used to be a god and gave up divinity in the same way that Guoba did. That would mean that she lost all of her memories and a lot of her intelligence, so she easily could have forgotten how the Rule of Three works. But for some reason, she instinctively knows that something is wrong when Dainsleif asks 3 questions. An important shape that often comes up in Genshin is the Triquetra. In real life, the Triquetra is an ancient Celtic symbol dating back to around 500 BC. Irish Christians use it to symbolize the Holy Trinity. Sometimes it's used to signify the division of the world into land, sea, and sky, or to represent the 3 most important elements: water, air, and earth. In Genshin, the Triquetra is all over the place. It's on Crowns of Insight, Mora, domain murals, Genesis crystals, unactivated domains, jade plates, and so many other things. Another shape similar to the Triquetra, called the Quaternary Knot, is all over Genshin too. It's at the top of domains in Spiral Abyss and on the floor of World Boss arenas. The Quaternary Knot symbolizes luck, the 4 seasons, and the 4 directions. These 2 symbols may have something to do with the Rule of Three since it applies to the numbers 3 and 4. The Triquetra and Quaternary Knots in Genshin don't have any clear meaning to any specific group or entity. I see some people say that the Triquetra symbolizes Celestia, but I'm not 100% convinced. I do get it though. It's definitely important, but it doesn't have any clear connection to Celestia. But given the connotation of the number 3 in Teyvat, it does make sense for a 3-point symbol to be the symbol of the main evil entity. The number 3 comes up with Celestia a lot. In Celestia's early days, they had 3 moon sisters who controlled the sky. They had to switch places every moon cycle or else disaster would befall the world. A wedding between a Seelie and a human happened in the lunar realm, meaning the Moon Sisters were distracted when it was time to change places. They forgot to switch out and ended up killing each other. 2 of the sisters' corpses crumbled away and the other corpse remains in the sky as Tevat's sole moon today. Skyfrost Nail broke into 3 pieces and tried to kill the people of Salvindagnir 3 times. It dropped on the civilization, it broke the first time, and then it broke again. All of these were Celestia's attempted attacks on Salvindagnir, but we know the third was the one that was successful in killing them. We know of 3 entities that have something to do with Celestia. The Unknown God is widely believed to be a celestial god, considering that she calls herself the sustainer of heavenly principles. The Primordial One, or Fanes, is confirmed to have been part of Celestia in the past or currently still be there depending on the outcome of the war with the Second Who Came. The same is also true of the Second Who Came. In the Genshin comic, Venti mentions 3 names that have something to do with Celestia: Pangu, Purusha, and Ymir. These may be the real names of the Unknown God, the Primordial One, and the Second Who Came, or another group of 3 entirely. Although evidence is scarce, the Triquetra could be a symbol of Celestia. If that's the case, it certainly makes sense. After all, Celestia is the big bad of Genshin. It's the common denominator in every problem that ever happens. A big issue in Tevat is the divide between the surviving Conrians and the Archons. These were 2 of the 3 main players during the Cataclysm, the other being Celestia itself, but let's not forget why the Cataclysm started in the first place. It's heavily implied that the Archons were forced to participate by Celestia. It makes sense that the Conrians wouldn't know this, and based on what Zhongli told us at the end of his second story quest, it's not like they can just explain that it's all just a huge misunderstanding. Celestia made them see each other as enemies when Celestia is the real enemy shared by both parties. The rule of 3 applies to the Cataclysm as a whole because there were 3 main groups fighting in it: Celestia, Conrians, and the Archons. Celestia and the Archons are separated here because the Cataclysm was the incident that made the Archons realize that Celestia didn't have their best interest in mind. This is why the Tsaritsa now wants to destroy Celestia by taking all of her fellow Archons' gnosis. If the travelers had arrived in Tevat sooner, maybe they could have been the 4th group necessary to break the rule of 3 and move out of the bad situation. But since we dropped into Tevat after everything already started, it was too late. Now that we're here and it's looking like the Tsaritsa will launch another Cataclysm, 4 groups will be present this time, meaning luck must be on our side. There is a problem with this though. The Coronary Knot is on the back of the Unknown God's neck. The Unknown God is for sure part of Celestia, so it doesn't make any sense for her to have the symbol of good rather than the symbol of bad. Maybe it's there because she truly believes that what she's doing is right, even though we all know it isn't. In last week's video, I talked about how I think the Sumeru Archon quest may play out. I think that breaking the rule of 3 is going to be huge there. The subtitle for the Sumeru Archon quest is Truth Among the Pages of Purana, but the most accurate translation from the original Chinese is the Purana of the False Kelp of Disintegration. Kalpa is a Hindu and Buddhist concept that refers to a period of time during a cosmic cycle. Cosmic cycles are the belief that the world is recycled and cleansed by a higher power after a certain amount of time. In Genshin, Celestia used to recycle the world around the time when Salvindagnir was still around. It's unknown if they still do this. Either way, we'll be hearing about the Kelp of Disintegration in Sumeru. The Kelp of Disintegration specifically refers to the period of time between the full destruction of the old world and the birth of the new world in Buddhism. But the Kelp of Disintegration isn't the only Buddhist Kalpa. In orders, the Kalpas are formation, continuance, decrease, and disintegration. The Kelp of Disintegration is the 4th and final stage of the Buddhist cosmic cycle. Cosmic cycles are used by Celestia against humanity, yet the Kelp of Disintegration's existence in Tevat implies that the other 3 stages exist as well, meaning that the rule of 3 applies here. Since there are 4 stages, the cosmic cycle must be a good thing. But the Sumeru Archon quest subtitle calls it the False Kelp of Disintegration. Calling it that could mean that it doesn't actually exist. That would mean that Celestia's cosmic cycle actually only has 3 stages, making it something dangerous if you apply the rule of 3. Since we heard about the Kelp of Disintegration in Genshin, it's safe to assume that the cosmic cycle used by Celestia is based on the one in Buddhism. In Buddhism, Kalpas can range from 16 million years to 1.3 trillion years depending on which stage of recycling the universe is in. Because Kalpas last so long and the Kelp of Disintegration is supposedly false in Tevat, that could mean that we're currently in the 3rd Kalpa, the Kalpa of Decrease. This happens when humans are overcome by greed, anger, and foolishness and the universe has to be recycled. The decrease in the title is in reference to the decline of human intelligence, kinda like erosion in Tevat, only on a wider scale. This would explain why some civilizations have been destroyed while others are still around. Kalpas take a long time, so Celestia is taking a bit to actually get rid of everyone and everything. They already got Conria, Salvindagnir, the Sealies, and that mystery civilization from the Chasm, but lots of stuff is still around. Maybe we recently entered the Kelp of Decrease following the war between the Primordial One and the Second Who Came, since that was around the time when civilization started to fall. Living in the destructive 3rd Kalpa explains why the rule of 3 exists and why we need to move from the 3rd Kalpa to the 4th. The rule of 3 basically says that bad things happen in 3 and you need 4 to fix it. Celestia has been in this third Kelpa for a while now, and people are dying because of it, so we need to move from the third to the fourth to end that. The Kelp of Disintegration, the fourth stage of the cosmic cycle, is when recycling is finally complete and the new world is born. The rebirth of Teyvat may not have to do with literally restarting humanity as a species, but restarting its culture free of Celestia. I had a great time learning about Buddhism for this video. Religions and other cultures have always been super interesting to me, and I think that's a big part of why I love Genshin. It's based on so many different real-world cultures, religions, and events, so I feel like I get to experience my love of history and exploration along with my love of gaming. And good luck to everyone pulling for Yelan and Xiao! I got Yelan on one of my alt accounts, so I recommend pulling for her if you need a strong Hydro character. I'm saving for Kusanali on my main though, but that'll probably still be a while till she comes out. As always, thank you so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Bye, besties!